F. Winter, and this is Confusional Arousals. Death and Taxes. Death and taxes is a phrase which commonly refers to the famous quotation written by Benjamin Franklin. Our new Constitution is now established and has an appearance that promises permanency. But in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. This quote comes from a letter from Franklin to John Baptiste Leroy, written in 1789. It was shortened to Death and Taxes and is used to acknowledge that all things change except death and taxes. This is interesting for me on a political note because even one of the founders of this country knew that the Constitution was a fluid idea at best, but it needed to change when society changes for the benefit of the majority of people in this country. That's why we have constitutional amendments. We the people means we are all in this together. Our country was not intended to be a monarchy where all the power rested on one person. The founders didn't envision even a two-party system, which I don't believe we actually have. The party of the rich rules this country, but that can be covered in another episode or two. Society changes, and so should our laws to ensure that everyone is equal under the law. People are different now. Guns are different now, and politics is different now. Once again, subject for another episode or three. But Ben Franklin did not coin the phrase death and taxes. Here's the quotation from The Cobbler of Preston by Christopher Bullock, written in 1716, which is the earliest known version. "You lie. You are not sure, for I say, woman, 'tis impossible to be sure of anything but death and taxes." My source for this is Wikipedia. I know it is, but it is good enough to serve my purpose. Now, to be honest, I have not read Mr. Bullock's book, so I cannot be sure what he is talking about, but he is talking to a woman rather aggressively, so I will assume that they are in a relationship and they are talking about love. I am sure I will get some angry emails from Bullockians out there, but I don't care. They're Bullockians. I apologize if I offended you by that. What my personal philosophy inspires me to do is not to offend anyone in this life so I don't have to deal with their idiocy in the next one. I guess my apology should be extended to the Wikipedians as well. Moving on, I believe Bullock was talking about love, and I believe that love changes if it has any chance to survive. In my life, that may have been the reason for such dismal failures. I wanted to change, she didn't. She wanted to change, I didn't. We grow, we change, our bodies decline, we take on more responsibilities. We are not the same people as we were a moment ago. How can you promise another eternal love? In the past, I have referenced the NPR show To the Best of Our Knowledge, the interview with Dr. Sam Parnia, although I only admitted to listening to about 5 minutes. I got a lot out of it. So, this is the cardiologist that worked in a hospital emergency room and brought back many people from the dead. He said that our understanding of death has changed. In another part of the interview, he gives an example of this. He said that a group of scientists went into a pig slaughterhouse and extracted the brains of the animals that had been slaughtered hours before. I would assume they got permission to do so, but I'm hoping not. I picture a mountain of pig's head in a bloody mess on the floor, and these 5 or so scientists, I really don't know how many there are, but they're going at it with rechargeable saws. They take these brains back to the lab and hook them up to some electrodes, probably putting them into some solution to keep their brains moist, and they bring the pigs back to life. I guess that meant they got electrical signals that mimicked the brain's function of a living pig. It's alive! After their initial celebration, they realized that the pig brain must be conscious, but has no connection to the outer world through its senses. The pig must be terrified in this alternative reality it couldn't understand. They decided to give the poor creature sedatives to soften its emotional pain. There is just so much stuff here. 1, I want scientists to bring my brain back to life. We have the technology already to make our brains move muscles of limbs no longer functioning. We could probably, in sleep science, just about figure out what the dreamer is dreaming, and if not now, soon. So I'd be in this jar, or my brain would be in this jar, and I would be telling the scientists what the unconscious world is like. Ghosts? Yeah, I'm talking to Murray Hill right now. His wife killed him with a candlestick in the library. And yes, God is a woman, and not a very attractive one. She looks like Ms. Rose, my 2nd grade lunch lady after the goulash incident. And the really fun thing about it is that they couldn't say I was wrong. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a 1-horse open sleigh. I think I probably blew it with the whole God is a woman thing. Oh, well. Getting back to the pigs. Were they alive? They had an awareness of their existence. I think, therefore I am, is a famous philosophical statement by René Descartes, translated from the Latin cogito ergo sum, which means that the very act of thinking proves one's existence. It is considered a fundamental principle in his philosophy of doubt and mind-body dualism. To all my listeners, if I have pronounced the Latin or Descartes' name incorrectly, I will apologize to him personally in the afterlife so you can mind your own business. So, the pigs, according to Descartes, were alive. But the definition of life, but the definition. So the pigs, according to Descartes, were alive. But the definition of life, at least according to Oxford Dictionary, is the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. So, my brain in a jar, annoying my keepers. Am I alive? I am thinking, but do I have the capacity for growth? Physically, no. I guess I could learn a foreign language, probably French, because I know how much speaking French incorrectly annoys French people. I certainly could not reproduce. I'm not saying another word on that. I am sure the distasteful image that is floating around in your brain right now is gross enough. Oh, baby, oh, baby. Sorry. Functional activity. Functional activities are tasks that require physical or mental effort and are part of daily life. They can include walking, eating, dressing, grooming, hygiene, working, and engaging in hobbies. Most of these, as a brain in the jar, are not applicable. And continual change preceding death. So, Just from that mad group of scientists, we have to change our definition of either life or death, but probably both, because I wouldn't be alive, but I wouldn't be dead. I might suggest a word which can serve as a placeholder until we sort this whole mess out. Jarred. I heard what happened to Eric. How is he? He's been jarred. Lucky bastard. The last book I published is called Mr. Albert. I published it in 2023, a full year before I heard this interview, so I must have been thinking about death for a long time. The book is a work of magical realism, which means everything in the book is normal except for one thing. And the only thing strange about Mr. Albert is that he is dead. He seems totally normal, except that he has no bodily functions. He does like to hang around in seedy bars and get plastered. The idea that got me involved in the story is that if you ever met Mr. Albert or someone else who is dead, and he is not a ghost or a zombie, you would have to re-examine everything you thought about life or death. Then, a year later, I heard this interview with Dr. Parnia. Maybe I am a prophet. I prophesize that all people will have hair growing out of their ears and other unseemly places by the time they are 50. Genius. Mr. Albert has several degrees of dead. He is normally dead. Sometimes he falls over, and because he has no bodily functions, people assume that he is dead, which he is, of course. I, however, call this phase dead. Yes, I am very clever. But when he is dead, he will eventually get up again and be normally dead. There is a final phase, and this is if he never gets up again, and that is called dead. Dead. Maybe dead cubed. But Mr. Albert objects to this term because he thinks it sounds too much like a recipe. Add 2 cups of Mr. Albert dead cubed. I will speak more about Mr. Albert in the future and my other books. I am a writer after all. If you are interested in any of my writings, go to afwinter.com. But enough of Albert for now. The title of this episode is Death and Taxes. I've talked about death. Here is something about taxes. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Mark is talking about taxes here. Basically, JC was saying, pay your taxes and stop complaining. Yes, there is a lot of government waste, but the government needs money to keep going, which means a strong military and supporting the general welfare. And most red states get more federal funding than the blue states anyway, so stop whining about taxes! Breathe. Enough of taxes. The real idea behind this phrase is that all things change. Nothing remains static. Everything is fluid. This is unnerving in many ways. If everything is changing, what can we count on? Can we rely on having our job tomorrow? Or being in an eternal loving relationship? Or remaining healthy? We only have this moment. I'm sitting at a mic at my desk. My dog is downstairs sleeping, I hope. She's 16 years old, so every once in a while I have to kick her to make sure she's still alive. No, I have never kicked her, so don't leave me negative comments. I usually lie down beside her on the floor and pet her softly. Her head rises slowly and she looks around, although she is blind. So there is a moment of confusion. But then she stretches out and yawns, rising shakily, looking for a snack. But the world outside my door is changing. And the older I get, the scarier it is. because I have now realized how little power an individual has. I used to think I had some measure of control over my life, that I could do anything and achieve everything. But I haven't given up. I know that sounds negative, but I haven't given up. This podcast is proof of that. Why start something ridiculously complicated as this if I have lost all hope? C.S. Lewis said, "You're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." What is life without dreams? But our dreams change as well. And as I have said, the world is changing outside my door. Our country is changing. We should all be better citizens and understand our country and the social dynamics of our neighbors. And if we are not willing to fight for our democracy, it will change into something else. Democracy is not free. It comes at a cost. We all have to give up something in order to survive together, because we can't make it alone. No matter how many guns we have, no matter how many generators are in our garage. And science also changes. The things we believed 50 years ago seem silly now. Every day there's a new discovery, and it seems to me to deny something because there is no proof of it, because no one tried to prove it, because no one got a grant for it, seems silly to me. I am waiting for those scientists to teach the pig's brains to talk. What wonders will they reveal about what is to come? I am A.F. Winter, and this is Confusional Arousals.